Hello, this is Professor Doug Lauen. I'm an Associate Professor of Public Policy at UNC Chapel Hill. This video tutorial is for my students in quantitative analysis. This tutorial is the first of a few parts. The research question in this example is whether pupil-teacher ratios predict NAEP test scores, and the unit of analysis in this data set is the 50 US states and the District of Columbia. So the research question is a state's fourth grade reading NAEP score related to the pupil-teacher ratio in a state? So the research hypothesis is that there's a negative relationship between a state's reading score and the pupil-teacher ratio. So as the ratio goes up, their test scores should go down. The null hypothesis is that there's no difference between a state's mean reading test score and the pupil-teacher ratio. Of course, there's an alternative hypothesis that any difference we find in state reading scores in states with varying levels of pupil-teacher ratios is due instead to differences across states in child poverty rates. It could be that in poor states, they spend money on other things, or they don't have enough money to pay for teachers in schools, or that they spend more money because they have poor kids in the schools. We'll find evidence to support the former explanation rather than the latter. So this example uses the toolkit Stata, and it goes through some basic bivariate statistical tests to test these hypotheses. So the first step is to get the data and merge it together. So the first few lines in this program are just kind of boilerplate. First I say clear everything out of memory, set more off, so you don't have to hit the space bar to get your results. And then I say close the log, and if a log is already open, I say capture. So that means that if there is a log open, it will close it. If there is no log open, it'll ignore that line. Then I point Stata to a particular part on my hard disk. This is a Mac. So this part is called a path name. So it's always good to have a CD or change directory line so Stata knows where to find everything and knows where to put everything after you create it. And then I open up a log. Always a good idea to have a log open so you can look at your results later. So I say log using mylog.log. I just gave it a name. Mylog could be anything. And I say that it should be text and then replace it if it already exists. Okay, so the next step is to import some data that currently exists on Excel sheets. So I'm going to go to my file system and show you what these look like. So these are just Excel workbooks. So I have one. I'll double click on it here and resize it so you can see it. So you can see that at the top I have two variable names, a variable name called state and a variable name called child poverty. And then the states are just arranged down the spreadsheet. There's 53 in this data set. And then the child poverty rates just go down the rows. Okay, so that's the child poverty data set. The other ones are arranged similarly. So a lot of times on websites you'll have data that you can download to an Excel format, and then to get it into Stata you have to take the steps I'm about to show you. But what's important is that you've got the variable names on the top, and then the data itself follows from rows 2 on down. Okay, so if your data is not in this format, you have to kind of cut and paste it and manipulate it so that it is in this format with variable names on the first row and then the data following down each row after that. So I'm going to close that out. I have two others that look just like this. And so let's go back to Stata and my program. So the first step is just to import one of the spreadsheets, sort it by the ID that we're going to merge on, and then save it as a data set. Okay, so the goal of this is to get all these data sets out of Excel and into Stata, and to merge them together in such a way that we don't scramble our data, and so that everything is lined up and merged properly. And that will be what we do in the next tutorial. So I'm going to stop this one now so the file size doesn't get too big, and I'll be back with you for the second part.